After you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Blu Sky.
And I'm Dave, and I'm the CEO of Blu Sky.
So I guess just for those of you who don't work with us on a regular basis, we are a chartered accountancy firm based in North Shields. We're an award-winning accountancy firm, and we are a Zero Platinum partner. And I guess the summary for us is that being zero, being in the cloud and being paperless, COVID-19's been a pretty seamless journey for us, actually. And I think part of that seamless journey and the ambition to be paperless and cloud-based and remote working is partly being due to the success of using OKRs. And it's certainly one of the things that attracted me to come into Blu Sky was the methodology and how it was used in Blu Sky. So we spoke to Jeff a few weeks ago from Digital Union, who we're delighted to work with. And we thought it might be a good idea just to share our journey and our take on OKRs and what we've learned from it and what others could learn from our journey. And here we are today. So the format of the session is going to be, I'm going to put Dave through his paces basically, and I'm going to interview him on the detail of it and why Blu Sky chose to use the methodology and what some of the lessons are and just some of the tips and advice that we've picked up along the way. Feel free to also join in and grill Dave. I'll be watching the chat and the Q&A. If you have anything, please send it over and I'll make sure we answer it. So here goes our take on OKRs and key results. So firstly, Dave, give us a bit of background on Blu Sky and why do you believe in the OKR methodology?
Okay, so myself and my co-founder John have taken Blu Sky from startup to scale up. So going back to day one, startup mode, tiny business, two of us, we had like one other person working with us, but we're both from corporate backgrounds, so we both had project management experience and kind of structured analysis experience. But as you grow and as you get busy, and as a small business, it can be very tempting just to do stuff without planning and to react to opportunities without thinking about them, and you find yourself driving down all sorts of cul-de-sacs there. As we've grown as a team as well, we've attempted with varying degrees of success to put structure around plans and development. But what we've found in particular, because we've grown a leadership team that are kind of young and bright and very go-getting, is that we'd go away and come up with a year's strategy or 3-year strategy, and then everybody would come out of the room, charge off in every direction and try and implement it within the next month. And it doesn't work like that. And people were stepping on each other's toes and picking up the things that they wanted to do and not the things that they wanted to do. So the herding cats analogy was a perfect one here. Very nice cats that we work with kind of thing, but we needed to search for something that gave us more control and more accountability in terms of delivering some items, so that we all knew who was actually responsible for making things forward and effectively had the authority to move things forward in certain areas.
So give us your definition. What are OKRs?
Okay, well, the actual OKR stands for objectives and key results. So an objective, a business objective, is a big kind of wild and woolly and inspirational. It's like, what do you want to achieve? Almost don't be constrained about what you're doing now. Let's look on the bright side. What do you want to achieve as a business? So, like I say, it can be aspirational. It's a statement, and you need to be able to measure whether or not you're achieving the objectives, and that's where key results come in. So the key result is a way of measuring the achievement of that objective. It's a framework to help you kind of define and track your progress towards your main business objectives. So it measures success. It's an iterative kind of process and helps you plan forward. overall. It's also a primary tool for helping you communicate to the rest of your team what it is you're actually trying to achieve within a business, what's important within a business, how you're going to measure success and achievement within the business, and that can be cascaded down into individual teams and individual people's own objectives as well.
So it's fair enough telling us what they are. It's a little bit more difficult in practice to write OKRs. So what's your advice on writing OKRs?
Yeah, it's more difficult than you think, and I think you need to be, if you're setting off down the road of using OKRs, be patient with yourself, because you'll not really get them right first. So the good start is just to write out what you want to achieve in plain English. You know, something that's understandable, something you can maybe communicate to a 5-year-old child. For example, and as I say, it needs to be aspirational. So it might be, you know, be the number one in the Northeast for whatever it is you want to be, or to massively grow sales, or there doesn't have to be a result within there. So it's ambitious, it's qualitative, but it also needs to be time bound and actionable. It needs to be something that you can achieve if you really put your mind to it. Try and then to slim that down into something that is readily understandable as well, so that there's no room for misunderstanding or misinterpretation of what it means. Make your objective positive as well. So, for example, if you're looking to retain more staff, if you're having a high staff turnover at the moment in time, rather than say reduce turnover, put increased retention. Make it a positive statement as well. That's more motivating. It's something to kind of go towards more. And remember that less is more. So it's one of the lessons that we learned is that don't come out with too many objectives to start with, because then you'll not know what the actual key ones. We'll go through that later on in the presentation. So the objectives are difficult enough. The key results can be more difficult. So how do you measure these? These need to be quantifiable. They're often numeric type measurements. So if you want to be number one in the Northeast, what does that mean? Does that mean you have more clients than everybody else in the Northeast? Well, how many is more? So if you want to grow from 100 clients to 300 clients, that's it. That's your measurement. And that allows you to kind of scale that kind of thing up. Do you want to grow turnover? Do you want to grow profit? Is it a non-financial key result that you have within there? So something that you can measure what you treasure, and measure what matters is the key to it. And the third part of this is not really shown in the title of OKRs, but it's the tasks, the actions that you need to take to deliver those key results. So if you have an objective, which is being one in the Northeast, you've got a key result that says that means we need to have 300 clients by the end of the period, then what actions and what tasks do you need to do to perform and complete to deliver that key result to enable you to deliver that objective? So it's a fine line. We've spent many happy hours debating whether something we've written down is actually an objective or a key result or a task, but it's quite easy once you get into the swing of it to kind of separate them out as you go along.
And Dave, you say we. By we, do you mean you and John sit in a room and write them?
Absolutely not, no. So the best way to get things delivered is for people to take ownership and accountability. And the best way to do that is to make sure people are in the room from the team to actually help us define the OKRs within there. So everybody understands the background and the framework and that have actually helped us deliver and document what the OKRs actually are. So the way we do it is we get our leadership team together to do that. That's 5 of us. That would include Sarah and another couple of other people within there. But even before we go away and have our strategy session to define these, we'll take opinions from other members of the team as well. You need people on the shop floor to have some input to what the OKRs actually need to be.
Okay. So you've wrote them, you've had your strategy session, we've had our strategy session. How is that different then from a normal or traditional model of writing some objectives annually?
Well, what tends to happen with a business plan or objectives is they get written up, they get stuck in a drawer on the shelf, and then they get forgotten about until the next year when you look at them and think, we didn't do that. So it's really about accountability now. So we've got a framework, we've got a good way of defining what we want to achieve and what we want to measure it, but how we want to measure it. But then we have to actually push that. So first of all, first thing is to make them public, get them pinned up on the wall, have a chart, show the measurements on a week by week basis. It can be painful when you're actually demonstrating to the lowliest of your team how you're actually doing in terms of achieving these objectives, and sometimes not necessarily achieving them as well. But it can be a driver for it as well, and it keeps everybody on the bus there as well. And I know we've got a couple of examples to show after this slide, Sarah. Making them a way of life means actually living them. So make sure everybody understands that these are the business objectives. Everything that we're doing should be actually contributing towards the delivery of those objectives. And if we're doing something that isn't, then the question is, what we're doing that for? Why do we need to do that? So it helps you align your decision making and your prioritization to the objectives as well. So it just makes life easier around that. And then getting the team together in constant huddles and team meetings helps us kind of communicate back how we're doing against the key results and the objectives and what actions we need to take to kind of move things forward. So communication is key around there. And then the cascading of it means that every team member should be contributing. So what can each individual do to contribute towards the delivery of those objectives? How do they fit into the big picture? And then for continuous performance management, it's making sure that individuals and teams and the business altogether are actually helping us move forward around this. So internally, the way we do it is we have smaller teams that get together for a 5-minute huddle on a daily basis. We have at the moment a bi-weekly leadership team meeting, and that was weekly. We went to daily actually when coronavirus hit. We've dropped back to bi-weekly again, just to make sure that we're moving on and to hold each other accountable for delivery around the objectives. And we need to show weekly progress against these, because the objectives are set on a quarterly basis, and you leave it a week, then you're a 13th of the way through with no activity already. You kind of really need to move stuff forward. In particular as well, from an individual's point of view, we hold quarterly performance reviews with individuals on a personal basis as well. We know, we've got a lot of millennials working with us. They need constant feedback and reassurance around how they're working. It helps kind of both parties communicate both ways against personal and business objectives.
Okay, and we've got a question came in, which is, in addition to sharing and displaying OKRs, do you use visual management or a dashboard to see at a glance how you are doing? I think that's probably a nice cue into the next slide, actually, is one example of what we use. So I'll just move on. So here's our example. I'll let Dave talk you through.
Okay, so yes is the answer. This doesn't show everything that we're doing from a dashboard point of view. The first thing we've got there is the 5-year, sorry about that, my house has dropped to bits. We have the 5-year vision that's come out of the strategy session, not just pinned up on the wall, but this is actually displayed. This is almost a full wall. So for those of you that have not been in the Blu Sky office, this is about 4 feet high and 5 feet wide on one of the walls, and it shows our overall business strategy across a number of different lines and across the 5-year period. We're 2/3 of the way through that now. The little inset on the right shows the quarterly objectives that we have for a particular quarter, and as you can see, they're pretty woolly and they're pretty aspirational. So right people, right place at the right time is effectively making sure that we really are working hard to get people doing roles and delivering products and services that they're good at. Consistent, efficient processes. Well, you can always be more consistent. You can always be more efficient. So there's a kind of rolling program on to review our processes. We're kind of very keen on the whole Kaizen, continuous improvement kind of concept, and that backs that one up. And then finally, like any business, more cash in the bank quicker. Yeah, of course, we'd like to get paid, and of course, we'd like to get quicker as well. So we set ourselves some particular financial targets. Particularly important coming into the quarter that we're in now. So those are not dashboards as such, that's not showing progress. We do have those. So we have a leadership team dashboard, which we get out on the Friday meeting. The Friday meeting is a little bit more in depth than the Tuesday meeting that we have, although we try and constrain it to 60 minutes because we've all got other stuff to do. But on that dashboard, we have metrics against marketing, against finance, against sales, against operational delivery, against customer satisfaction, and against also the team happiness and engagement score as well. So we measure and monitor that. So that's at a high level basis. And then on a operational team basis in the weekly huddles, they have a daily update in terms of delivery. And how they're doing against plan as well. So yeah, we kind of do it on a daily, weekly, quarterly, and annual and 5-year basis.
I guess, Jeff, back to your question, one of the really good tools to track OKRs is a tool called GTM Hub. It's built specifically around the OKR methodology. Another one, which we use at the moment, is Apogee. It's specifically built to track the OKR methodology and the percentages around that. And then on a task by task basis, we use Trello. So there's various different tools that you can use out there to track a specific OKR methodology and your progress in a visual dashboard. Okay, so does culture and impact OKRs, Dave? So there's lots of things around mission, vision, strategy, objectives, and key results. How do those work together in practice? Not just the theory. How do they actually work?
Yeah, they've got to integrate properly. So again, it's about getting the team on board with what you're trying to achieve and helping them understand what their role is in helping the team move forward. And to do that, you can only do that by being clear about what the personality of the business actually is and what we're looking to deliver. So we again involve the whole team pretty well in this. So from a mission and a vision, that comes from the leadership team. So why are we here, and where do we want to be going forward? And then from a strategy point of view, we know what the priorities are in terms of developing the business, in terms of developing products to help and grow our clients, and then in terms of developing the team structure and the team individuals, so that we can service not just what it is the clients need today, but trying to anticipate what they're going to need in 12, 24 months time as well, and start developing towards that as well. So your mission, vision, and values and strategy all absolutely dovetail into the objectives and the key results as well. So the objectives and key results are a way of delivering that vision and mission.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just look at my scruffy notes here, Sarah. So the values and the purpose and the mission are things that we constantly talking to the team about. We have a check back mechanism that we call process confirmation. So one of us at a senior level will sit down with one of the junior team members and go through their work, but not just something that they've delivered, but have they followed the process, and do they understand why that process is what it is, and do they understand what value it's delivering to the client, and what do they know about the client as well. And within there, we ask them about the Blue Sky values and also how they've demonstrated at least one of those values in terms of their approach to the work as well. It's Sarah, you came up with a great phrase. It used to be back in history when you were managing people that you used to have to tell people to do the next thing right. But now what we're asking of people is for them to do the right thing next. They need to have some understanding and thought into what they're doing and to be able to know and adapt the tasks and the delivery and their own personal plans towards delivering the overall key results and objectives of the business. And the OKRs and the culture both provide guidance to individuals to enable them to do that without necessarily referring every 5 minutes back up the line. So the OKRs, the objectives and the key results and the vision and the values all need to be very, very clear in the mind of the team as they deliver things.
Okay, just check if there's any questions. So what's your lessons learned then, Dave, over the years? You've been doing this now for at least 10 years. What's your lessons learned?
Yeah, it's a journey, and you'll never get them completely right. Is the key. So if you start using OKRs, go easy on yourself and expect a 12 to 18 month journey before you really get your head around them. It's not a 5 minute job just to get them down on paper and 3 months later know that you've got it exactly right. So it's about understanding what an objective is, how does it fit in with your overall strategy and target. If you don't have a strategy, you're really going to find it difficult. So it's sit back and have a strategy first. And your objectives will evolve as time goes on and as your business evolves and as you do as a person and a set of individuals as well. Writing them isn't easy. As I say, we've had some pretty robust discussions in the past about what do we actually want to achieve, what is important, and what are the priorities, and whether something is an objective or it's a key result as well. And maybe one of the temptations when you start is to write loads of things down. And I know when we set off with 13 objectives, which is patently absolutely ridiculous, and we didn't have a cat in hell's chance, heard it or not, to actually achieve them. About 3 objectives is about the right thing. Remember, these are absolutely the top level things to drive the business forward. It doesn't have to be everything in there. So about 3 objectives is about right, and then for each objective, about 3 key results is about right. So you're working with a maximum 9 key results. The word, the major word there again is key. What's the actual critical things that are going to help you measure your delivery of those objectives. And then a number of tasks. You might find that a number of tasks, some tasks actually help on more than one key result as well. So there's no kind of defined limit towards them, but less is more here. Just start off easy. Even if you just start off with 1 or 2, just to prove the point to yourself, then that you can actually manage and deliver according to them. That might make you a little bit braver. So certainly start off with 1 or 2 rather than 7 or 8 as we go forward. I spotted there a little question from Adam. Is that per year or per quarter? Yes to both questions. I think, Adam, is the key. So we set annual OKRs, but then sometimes that's a little bit far ahead. So within that, we set quarterly OKRs as well. The quarterly OKRs are there to take us a step forward towards delivering the annual OKRs. So there's a constant reference back to the annual ones to then give us quarterly ones. And the quarterly ones, because it's such a short time scale, help motivate and drive delivery in a time scale rather than giving you the option of kind of putting something on the shelf for a week or 2 because you've got more immediate things kind of in front of you.
I've got a few more coming through, Dave, if that's all right, on the Q&A.
Absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
Yep. So did you have any challenges with getting the wider team on board, particularly in updating weekly? How did you overcome this?
Oh, yes, I think is the absolute answer to that. Yeah, some people take a little bit longer to get it than others. And I think what we find is, and for any business, it's obviously important that, you know, the whole team is on the bus and driving towards it, and you know, actually a bus driver. And sometimes you do find that occasionally people are going to be passengers or actively want to be moving in a different direction for whatever reasons and motivations that they have. This has actually been helpful in kind of weeding that out for us over time. I think for junior members of the team, it can be more difficult because they're not as involved in setting them. Yes, I have some involvement, but at the end of the day, it can sometimes come across to them that it doesn't impact on their day-to-day work, but the right ones will get it. And it's just constant iteration and communication about how important it is, how important it is, how important it is, and it finally gets into people's psyches as time goes on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And has your happiness and engagement changed as a result of everyone working from home? I guess if I take that one because I track it. So we track using a tool called Happy Mood Score, which is every day the team press a button that has, is their day as expected, better than expected, or not as expected? That all filters through to me, and I can see those, and then I can I can reply to them in the tool about why they put that score in the tool. It also gives me an overarching benchmark, and it stayed exactly the same as what it was before. But yes, there's up and down averages, and at the start, it kind of went a little bit like this as people were adjusting at different times along the journey. But at the moment, it's exactly the same. And in terms of productivity, we've probably had the same, but same up and down in terms of our workload. It's changed from when we were in the office to now for various reasons. Through COVID, for example, people not traveling impact us. So that one's a little bit harder to measure because the workload's changed. But on a like-for-like happiness engagement, it's exactly the same.
I think it's fair to say we've kind of tweaked a little bit the way we manage and communicate with individuals out of necessity, and it probably took us a few iterations to get that to where it is now. But we have a fairly good rhythm around that as well. So the daily huddles are still the daily huddles at the same time with the same people. And it's just that, yeah, it's not everybody crowded around the table anymore. It's everybody on a screen. And maybe one or two individuals probably need a little bit more TLC in the early days, but they're pretty well, I would say, all seem to have got their head around where we're at now, and it's not an issue or any more than it would have been.
And Dave, I guess on that point of COVID-19 and changes, is there anything that you would look to do differently in terms of OKRs and planning and updates in a remote environment, I would say?
I've genuinely wrapped my head about this and said no. I think that the strategy is sound. The philosophy is sound. We might be on a slightly different journey as a business. We might have slightly different challenges and slightly different opportunities, but that doesn't take away from the structure that this gives us. This has actually probably made it easier for us to adapt and cope. So, you know, we're still a small business. We still want to be. It might sound structurally quite heavy going. It is, but it's not. It doesn't stop you being light-footed and changing direction and pivoting if you need to. It's just that your objectives change, and it gives you a better framework for more easily identifying and articulating your objectives and the key results around it. So I wouldn't change anything in what we're doing. The only thing that we're changing, which we decided on before COVID, was we showed you the 5-year plan on the wall a little bit earlier. We decided that 5 years out, now that we're 3 years through that, 5 years out is probably a little bit too far to predict. This was decided in the early months of this year before COVID. So we decided to go for a 3-year overall strategy. But then, yeah, the OKR cycle of annually, quarterly, with weekly meetings and daily huddles is exactly the same.
Another question coming through, Dave. So do you only have company-wide OKRs, or do you have departmental or even individual OKRs too?
We have individual ones. So we set people individual objectives in their quarterly reviews, and most of those line up overall with our expectations of their role and how they fit into the company objectives. We do always leave one spare for them to have a personal objective in there as well, which may be nothing to do with the OKRs per se, but in terms of their own self-development as well. But it's again, it's a great tool for lining them up, and that's one of the reasons why we chose Apogee, which is effectively an HR management product, because it specifically can help you line up with the business OKRs as well.
Okay. Just gonna check. I think that's all of the questions and all of the chat at the moment, Dave. Have you got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just to summarise, really. So yeah, it's not easy, but it's easier than not having a plan and not having objectives. It will help you certainly focus and move forward. Make your objectives aspirational. Make your key results challenging, and because it's aspirational and challenging, you might not get there every time, and that's okay. Don't beat yourselves up. And the word on the street is, if you achieve 70% of what you set out to do, that's probably pretty good going. If you achieve 100% all the time, you're not setting yourself challenging enough targets. So make them challenging but achievable, and you will achieve some and not others. But then you can recalibrate your priorities, recalibrate your key results, relook at what you're doing and how you're doing it to improve performance next time round. So it's part and parcel of an overall management tool. We, really like the way it helps us move forward, and we've got no intention of kind of changing from that in the foreseeable future. That's a great question there, Sarah. So how can Blu Sky help others around here?
Yeah, so we've put our contact details on here. We do run a kind of an advisory program, to be honest, called Business Builder, if anyone was interested in that. I guess what we can also do to help is, so we've given our take on OKRs and how it works for us. As we've said, it's definitely not perfect, but we've tried each time to make it a little bit better and stronger and try and take the lessons learned from it. We're not the only ones that use OKRs, and if you've looked up or heard of OKRs, you'll see that a lot of bigger global brands such as Google and LinkedIn also use OKRs, and there's lots of great articles and YouTube videos and books out there that can also give you different companies' take, which I can also send around after the webinar if useful, and I can also share the software that we've used and tried in the past to help us track the OKR right down to the tasks if helpful too. Any closing thoughts, Dave? We don't have any more questions. There's final chance for anyone to send any questions through.
Yeah, I'm fine. I would encourage everybody to explore further. I would encourage everybody, if you've got any questions around it, to give us a shout, and we can help you on that road. And yeah, just take it from there. If you want to move the business forward, it's an invaluable tool.
And yeah, just a final many thanks from Jeff there, and thanks for Digital Union and Jeff for organising it. We'll send the information around through. Sorry, I've just got one more coming through on the chat. Any good books? Yeah, I can send them on. I can send a list of books on too. The YouTube videos are also very useful, so I'll share them through Jeff after the webinar. Okay, if that's oh, sorry, one more chat.
just
All
thank
right,
you from Steph.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
No, thank you all for hanging around. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye now.
Catch you soon. Bye bye.